Hey everybody, my name is Gabe the Painter. I was not planning on filming a video like this anytime soon, not even for the next couple of years.
Sorry, that is amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I don't want this video to be sad. I don't want it to be depressing. I don't want you guys to feel any sort of way that is anything less than happy, right? Because this isn't necessarily a sad experience, but I do want to share this experience and how we came to the decision of putting down our French bulldog, who was only 3 years old. Now, I'm not gonna make it sound like it was some sort of easy decision. It wasn't. This was actually one of the hardest decisions we've ever made. But with that being said, it was shocking to say the least. It was extremely sad at the time. We are getting a lot better. We're starting to feel a lot better, and in process, just kind of as an act of healing, I'm actually going to be painting him for the next couple of weeks. With that, I want to share some things that I've learned within this experience because it really has become a life-changing experience. It's kind of impacted the way both my wife and I see life and how we treat life. Let's get right into the painting, and I just want to explain what happened. Just real quick before I get into any of the story, exactly the how or the what happened, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are confused. I am just going to explain a little bit of what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing some math to get the picture lined up. This is a portrait or a picture that I took of Kodak just a few weeks prior to all this happening. It was right after I got my truck. Major changes in our lives. Just barely had gotten out of debt and all these different things. It's super exciting for both my wife and I. And obviously, you can never be prepared because things always happen. I'm not going to say that I feel hurt by this experience. I'm not going to say that I'm cursing God. I'm not. Although sometimes that feels like the reaction you should have. I don't know why, but a lot of times we feel like, why God? Why would you do this to us? Surely we know that one thing is true. It's that He loves us so much, and our capability to understand how He views us and these animals that He gives us, it's way beyond us. But one thing I do know is that we've learned a lot. We feel the love of God more than we ever have in our entire life. We understand Christ a little bit better, and we want to be more like Him. But real quick, let me just give you guys some instruction. I prepped the board, kind of an orange color. I used Azo Gold mixed with, I want to say it was a yellow, so it wasn't too, or no, don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it was just Azo Gold. But I think it looked really pretty. Then I went in with a sketch. Of course, I did all the math to line everything up, make sure that was the right ratio. If you guys want a video on how to do that math, let me know, and I will teach you. And I am no mathematician, so I keep it simple. And then right here, I'm just going in, painting all of the highlights because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this painting at this point, but the big idea is that I will be doing plenty of layers, and these highlights are going to be absolutely essential to creating the base of all of our colors. So I'm going to do this to the whole entire picture, including the truck, the background, the car in the background, the tree, everything. And then we'll bring in some darks. Okay, back to the story. So just the day before Mother's Day, my wife and I, we basically decided we were going to spend lots of time together. We were hanging out with Kodak, and it just felt like a very, very special day. With that, though, we also had some other plans. So we went to go and actually get together with my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew, of course, my parents and my brother. We went out to eat. We went out to go shopping, all this to celebrate Mother's Day because, my siblings are older now, so we're not all going to be together on Mother's Day. So we did so, and we were gone the whole entire day. When we had gotten back, Natalie and I, of course, were exhausted. We had been walking all day. We had eaten a lot of food. We'd been eating out a lot that week. It was just crazy. And we're just going to chill. We're going to relax here on the couch, maybe watch a movie, just spend some time together. Natalie's normally at school. I normally work, so we don't really get to spend quality time all the time. And so as we're watching, suddenly we notice Kodak, our French bulldog, kind of breathing a little bit weird, and that kind of worried us, and we immediately stopped watching the movie, and we were just terrified. Originally, we thought maybe this was a reaction to something he had eaten. I was not sure if like something was happening that was beyond our expectations. We did catch him eating, like, it sounds horrible. We're gonna sound like horrible owners, but we did catch him like kind of gnawing on an onion. I hurried and caught it, and I threw it away. He didn't eat any of it, and so I was so nervous, and the guilt kind of hit when I had thought about that, and we were just terrified for our little Kodak. And so what did we do? We called my parents. My parents seemed to have the answers for a lot of things. And they said, well, okay, well, you should hurry and buy some like activated charcoal that pulls the toxins out of the dog and should help him out. So we ran over to Walmart, got activated charcoal, fed him, and he started to seem like he was doing better. He was still kind of acting weird. And it was at this moment we also noticed he was dragging his back right leg. And that really scared us. We're like, oh no, were we too late? We're reading all these things, and Google is not the greatest friend, okay? Like, if you guys have ever had a health issue or like a concern, Google is not your friend. You go on there, and it is like the absolute purest form of fear-mongering. Like, suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I have stage 4 cancer and diabetes. There's no way I'm going to make it out of this. And like, really, you're like, you've got like a stub to... What am I saying? All right, let me get on track, okay? Not appropriate. All right, anyways. So... real quick, just throwing in some color, just some bases for the background. Okay, now let me get back into this a little bit. So then we kind of came up with a new conclusion. We researched some other things, and we're like, well, he also matches these symptoms of constipation. So we're like, okay, that's a relief. Funny enough. And we felt a lot better about it, and we read about it a lot. Found out, okay, just give your dog some pumpkin spice. Take him for a nice long walk, and everything should pass through the system. So that's exactly what he did. And towards the end of the walk, he was doing a lot better. He was happy. He was keeping up with us the whole entire time. And then at the very end, there's this big long hill, and he was just really pushing. He was just not doing so good. And I kept encouraging him, and I kept saying, good boy, and he'd get excited, and he'd start pushing a little bit harder up the hill, and he's basically running as fast as he could while tripping, and it was hard to watch, but he finally made it up. And then we got back to our house, and we noticed he was struggling to get up the stairs, and we're like, okay, well, surely this is something that, nothing but a little bit of sleep couldn't help. So we put him to bed, and as worried as we were, we said our prayers, we went to sleep. And then that next morning, I go to get him out of the crate, and he's dragging both of his legs behind him. And at this point, I told Natalie, this is Mother's Day by the time this had happened. And I told Natalie, I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't make it to church today. We had church that Sunday. And I said, we got to go put him down. And it was at this moment we both kind of just broke down. We were like kind of falling apart. It was so embarrassing. And but it helped us to realize how much the magnitude of our love for this being that God had placed in our life, surely at this time for a reason. And we started to recognize the many things he did, started remembering the powerful experiences we had with him. And this was something I had kind of realized as we were experiencing this, is that God gives us these pure, sweet animals just for a short amount of time to benefit us, to help us, to serve us, and really ultimately to make us happier, to make us feel more full. Like Natalie and I, we have a lot of stresses in our lives, a lot of really hard things that we have to overcome as a young couple who are trying to find our way through finances and what even do you do? What even are taxes, right? You don't think about these things. And he had really helped us to get through these kind of frustrating and stressful times. So that day we took him and we put him down. And I just remember holding him in my arms and just feeling the life come out of him. That was shocking in so many ways. But I kind of realized something at that time as I handed this lifeless body back to the vet, something that I'd never felt before. I started to understand the beauty of death. There's very few beautiful, truly beautiful things you can experience in life. One of those things being birth, one of those things being, say, a wedding, right? That binding of a family. And then, of course, that last thing being death. Death being one of the most beautiful things possible. It's the ceremonial experience in which that person gets to go back to God, to understand how special life is. I was once told, as I was called to go serve in an old folks home in a kind of the leadership of this branch, if you want to know what life's about, you got to spend time around people who have very little of it left. And likewise, I would say you got to spend time around those who are leaving life. As I started to realize the value of all things, the value of loving your neighbor, because I believe in God, I also have the obligation to believe in those created in the image of God. And that is our neighbors. That is our enemies at the same exact time. That is exactly what Christ taught us, right? To love your enemies even as yourself. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody. Doesn't mean you have to be a pushover. Doesn't mean you have to be this spineless person that says, I have to be friends with all people. But to love people, loving people is a whole different thing. To love people doesn't mean you have to accept the things that they're doing. To love people is to want to help them to become better. It's to desire a greater life for them. It was hard to lose Kodak. It really was. I don't want to overshadow any of that. Extremely difficult. And I know a lot of you guys have probably had to experience things like this. This isn't my first rodeo. I've experienced a couple of deaths of dogs. I believe the hardest thing about death is returning back home and feeling the lack of that energy in your home. It's the weirdest thing. It is the weirdest thing. We're recovering. Natalie and I are doing a lot better. We feel a lot better. We have been edified by God and we've been strengthened. As far as what happened to our cute French bulldog Kodak, he developed something called degenerative hip disease, which is something that happens actually quite a lot with breeds kind of like the bulldogs, and I think Shih Tzus also have this kind of issue. And there's a ton of other animals on this list, all besides those that have not been overly bred. So it's just kind of one of those things that comes along when you overbreed something, when you get like something like the Habsburg jaw and things like that. It's kind of sad, not gonna lie. It was something we were not prepared for, and it can happen out of nowhere. I'm super grateful that we were able to have somewhat of a warning before all of this happened, but it was still extremely hard. I know that some people get it a lot worse, where essentially they'll wake up and their dog cannot walk at all. They're completely paralyzed, and it was somewhat of just a horrible surprise. And we're just really grateful that we were able to spend some time and actually take him on a walk when we started to see and recognize kind of what things were happening. Interesting enough, earlier this year, I did a commission for a family in my neighborhood whose bulldog also recently passed away. Theirs was an interesting case where they just kept throwing money at it. They kept spending thousands and thousands and thousands. And so it was able to live for a while, but it eventually died and had the same exact issue come back. So you can't really guarantee it. And when we were with the vet at the end, she said we made the right decision because there's only a 3% chance of survival after you spend, $10,000 to $12,000, $10,000 to $13,000 on surgeries and all these other things. Only a 3% chance of survival, and that's a really, really tough thing. Well, not survival, but of success, which means that you're pretty much guaranteed, the hip problems are going to come back, and it's just a hard life, something that you have to be really prepared for. You've got to have the money for it. We did not have the money for it. Like I said, we're a young couple trying to we're trying to refigure out life, essentially. Especially now that we just had tax season and stuff like that. We're 1099 employees. We're the highest taxed in the U.S., so it's just a big old recovery that we're trying to get through right now. So that was just something we just did not expect. But one of the major miracles was in the very end, they said, okay, just go outside and we'll meet you out there with the body. which they prepared a casket. They were so nice to do that. And they came up to us and they said, just to let you guys know, it's all covered. Like, you guys don't have to pay for a single thing. And we were just terrified. We're like, we cannot. Like, it's been a really financially tough month. And obviously, we're going to be doing a lot better after this. But we had a lot to worry about. A lot of things were happening. So many car problems, all these different things. Just things you cannot prepare for. Yeah, we were out of debt, but we were just trying to keep ourselves alive. We're just trying to survive. And so that was extremely shocking. But we are, like I said, we're very grateful. And here is the final product of, well, as far as today. We're going to paint plenty more, so subscribe so you can see that. And let's close up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Gabe the Painter. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, the process. I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you guys want to support, please consider liking, leaving a little comment, and subscribing, of course, so you don't miss any of my future content. I'd love to hang out with you guys again here soon. And I'll see you in the next video.